how are you related to the Watermans?
I am this guy, his wife.
Okay.
This Don is the, let's see, is he?
Great grandson?
He's a grandson.
Grandson.
Okay.
Because his father was Edwin Waterman, who H.A. Waterman was who founded the business, and Don's father was the youngest of.
So he's
four
third
boys.
generation then?
He's actually second generation.
Second generation.
Yeah. And well, he seemed like that because of age, but because of the boys being younger, or being, he was the youngest. And there's a picture, and I don't have it in here. Well, it is in the, excuse me. It's the postcard picture.
This is
There
the
it
postcard.
is, yes. This buggy right here, this is the four boys and Don's dad. Well, this is three boys and Don's dad. And this little baby in the buggy is Don's dad. So that's his grandfather. And the girl that's driving the buggy is the oldest, and she was the daughter.
So it's your husband's grandfather that started this business?
Yes, yeah.
And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the one that knows. He actually became a blacksmith in New Palestine and worked there as an apprentice. And then he came and started working across the street on Troy before they built this building. And I want to say, was this in the
81, I think. it
80s?
was.
Yeah,
It says
something.
1881.
Okay.
1881, I
So,
think I saw the building.
It just kept progressing.
Yeah, he started the company in 1881, but the blacksmith shop, it was right at the corner. They lived in that house. He was
Oh,
born
they
in
lived
that
in
house.
that, okay.
Yeah.
The one down in the hollow there?
Yes. And well, actually, H.A. was born in the Waterman homestead on southeastern Utica. The dentist shop. The dentist.
Oh, I always wondered what
Yeah,
that
that
building
was
was.
That was the Waterman.
I have driven by that building for decades, wondering who owned it, because it was obviously somebody important to have a house like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Is that further down this road?
Yes.
It's
at
Arlington.
Right.
Yeah, it's on the right as you go northwest.
It's on southeastern.
Yeah, yeah.
Dr.
Bonner,
Yeah.
Bonner or something.
The double-story brick.
Yeah, yes. Great class.
And I don't remember how many children they had. But when each child got married, Don's great-grandfather would give him a section of land. So he took that section of the corner there. And then there was a small blacksmith shop, and then he ended up buying that. Okay, let's see the rest. Oh, sure, I thought you were joking. Yes, right, yes, yeah.
I'm no sugar wife.
Okay. Yeah, well, I knew you looked familiar, but I couldn't, yeah, right. Okay. This is where we had the hardware, and obviously we had hardware stuff everywhere through there. Let me close the door. This was actually the front porch, and the inner room used to run through here, and people would sit in here to get on the front. And then when, I think it was Kenny Barnes that wanted to get a front. So Don's grandfather would close this in, and well, he already had the rest, because Kenny would probably remember this, and actually, so he would close it in and made it. This is my husband Don. I'm sorry. This is dirt.
Oh, yeah. Same here.
So, my dad. And there's, if you go up front, you can see the frontage of the brick. Don't go up
from that wall there, that wall right there, forward was the first part of the building. And that's what you see in all those pictures of the blacksmith shop, they were working out in front. And they built that first, and then they built the garage back there next. That was a separate building. And then in the early 30s, well, about 39, then they enclosed the two buildings and made it all one building. And then they put the hardware in years of time when they enclosed the two.
You realize that it was separate.
That was a separate building. Yeah.
And you realize you and I were trying to find him because we had
Oh,
this question
there
here.
it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the board I was telling you about. It's too heavy. I was going to say, this is too heavy for me to move. But if you were to walk over here and look, you can see the various types of shoes. Some have toes on them, some have little catches. This one has ice things. So that was their display board. Don and I compared it to going into McDonald's and having a picture of here's a Big Mac, where you can order a quarter pounder, where you can get a burrito. So, yes, and thank you. If you cut that down, Elena will be able to put it in the car.
Tip that up again. Just like,
Yeah, I'm gonna get better. Let me do that too.
And then also back in those days, they used, they welded, but they made their own seven in here, which was a certain gas that you need to gas weld. And they had their own setup, and they set up. They would buy the lumber from the lumber company, and the best I can tell, it was somebody down south, southern part of the state. They would buy the lumber for the wagons, the farm wagons, and even truck beds, school buses, and they used to keep school buses for the townships here, the first ones. And they got that lumber off from, I think, down south, one of the lumber companies down there. And then they would bring it up here and cut it down in size. Because they had a mill room here in the summer room here. They had a band saw and a table saw, a rolling table saw, had a planer, 24-inch wood planer. And so they would plane all the boards. And then they had a finishing room upstairs where they finished all the boards, stained them and put the preservative on them, keep them so they wouldn't rot. Had a sewing room upstairs where they sewed all the buggy seats and school bus seats. They did all their own leather work and sewing up there.
It was quite an operation.
Yeah.
Must have had a lot of employees.
Yeah, well, and the thing was too back then, when farmers would be going to town to sell their product on the wagons, because they had just horse-drawn wagons back then, back in the 1800s, before tractors came on. Why, they would stop out here, and we had a scale out here in the front, in the ground, and they would weigh their wagon, load it and then unload it, and when they come back to be sure that they get ripped off when they took their grain or whatever into town. So we had a scale out there, right there at the corner of the building out there in the ground.
well, there was also a pump.
There was gas pumps, we had the first gas station out here.
But I'm talking about
What year was that? Was it the first gas station?
Gas station was probably, that was right around 1920. Somewhere that neighborhood. 1910, it was right around.
I didn't know that.
this one. Used to be a really
Yeah, they had two pumps out here in the front.
Wow. Connie, where are you going from here?
public, we'll do down here, and then we'll go upstairs. You want to go with us, you can go with me.
Are you showing that center room?
Yeah, well, I was gonna look at that, because it's kind of slippery.
Oh, you can't go out there.
Yeah, just go around that way.
Yeah, correct. Now, which street are you?
I'm Eric.
You're Eric. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you live out down this way?
Well, we live in Avon now.
Oh.
Yeah, we just moved there.
Okay. Did you live out this way?
We lived in Evansville about 40 years.
Now this room here was the welding. This is the room that they enclosed after that building here, the garage part was built, because if you notice, that's all outside walls. It had windows, and that was one of the entrance doors to go into the garage.
So like mechanical work?
Mechanical work was done over there, and then they did the painting of cars, did body work over there too, fixed wrecks.
That was your dad's.
That was my dad.
Edgar was in here.
Edgar was in here, and Harry. They were in here.
Yeah.
Kenny was up in the hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Edgar and Harry were in here. They built the truck beds in here. In fact, all of the shuttle buses, the original shuttle buses at the State Fair,
Oh boy.
all of them were built here except 3 of them. We lost the contract on 3 of the buses. And, but the rest of them were all made here originally.
When would they
Right
have,
in here.
when would they have been making trucks?
Truck beds?
Yeah.
When did they start?
What decades were they doing that?
Oh, they were doing that in the, I imagine, I'm going to say in the late 30s maybe, or sure, they were in the 40s for sure.
Really?
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Wow.
Because the last job that Edgar did, basically, he built the fire tanker for Wanamaker Fire Truck.
Really?
Wanamaker Fire Truck down here. Their tanker truck.
I had no idea.
And that was in 73. I think it left out of here in 75 possibly, because it took him a while to build the tank up there. But that was in 73 or 75.
Now, who's Edgar?
Edgar, that was my first cousin. Yeah.
He would have been a grandson of H.A.
H.A. Yeah. He was a grandson of H.A. Him and his brother Kenny ran the hardware. And Harry was their dad. He was the welder out here.
So they were Watermans? That
Yeah.
was their last name?
Yeah. Yeah, they had chain falls up here. We took them down now. Chain falls up here like that beam you see right there. They had trolleys on there. Beams ran across here with chain falls that they would hold up the truck beds and drive the truck out and then drive another truck under. They did a lot of bed switching too back in those days. When a truck would wear out, why they'd come in here and switch beds.
Watch your step.
Yep.
But this is all wet down here. Yeah, this all got flooded out. But this was the old woodworking room here. There's still a saw over there yet, and I shouldn't show this, but it's still hooked up. But
Wow.
it's an old rip saw. And you might remember, Eric. I don't know if you remember any of this stuff.
I just remember it being really dirty in there.
Yeah. But there was a long table here, and it had it was a table, but it was a rolling table, and that was a doorway that was open down there with those block art, and they would bring the long boards in that doorway and set them on this rolling table, and then the saw was up here, and they would rip the boards in half, set them on this rolling table, and come down, and then the table would go clear down to here. And then they would rip the boards in half. And then they had a little planer over here, a joiner, and then they had a big wood planer over there. Bandsaw was over there. They had a power hacksaw back in the corner. But hold your ears there a minute. This thing's still hooked up. This is dangerous. Took out, but there was a table here, and we would put short boards on here. Well, we'd even put long boards on here, and then just cut them. Just cut the boards in two. All we do.
Now I know why you volunteered to cut the end off that horseshoe cord. You got the equipment.
I don't have the table. I'd get hurt if I tried to cut that now. I'll cut it down though before I cut the end off. So,
So these windows look right out on
On the Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I blocked them in over the years, but yeah, those windows was right out on the Troy. So. But then, well, you can see all the woodwork, how they built the building, and all the beams, stuff holding it up. Over the years, we did reinforce that corner down there. I was getting a little worried about setting. And so my boy and I, we put posts up there, just kind of secure the floor joists up above.
And this is 1881?
This is he started the company in 1881 in a blacksmith shop over in his front yard.
Okay.
And then about 1886, from what I can gather on records, is when they built this building.
86, okay.
We did have had a dirt floor originally.
Originally, I think it did, Eric. Now, I can't tell you how it was partitioned off, but there's footers that they dug up. There's one over there on the floor, but they had walls, they had footers, so I know they had individual rooms. By the time I came along, this was all open, but they did have individual rooms over in there. And I don't know how it was all set up.
The blacksmith area is.
That's on
still
up
further.
there, yeah, that's further forward there, yeah. Yeah, that's further forward, we can go up there. But we have to go around and see that, because we blocked all that off. But, anyway,
If you are driving from Indianapolis toward Wanamaker and you come so that you're coming over the interstate bridge and approaching the building, approaching that side, there's a big garage door sized door, and that door was the entrance to the blacksmith shop. So that, as you're going by, you can see it and then go, oh yeah, that was it, because that helps.
and there's been many a car missed the turn and went through the front of the building.
Oh,
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, we've had 2 or 3 of them.
Then
Yes.
does it damage the brick and everything?
Oh,
too?
yeah,
I didn't know.
oh, yeah. One year we had to rebuild the whole front wall out there,
Wow.
I did not.
ground up, because they knocked, it was all.
They must have been going more than 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, they snapped the telephone pole off there at the corner of the building. Anyway,
I wonder when they put the heat in. Is that heat?
that's heat, yeah. That was probably, now, by the time I've come along, the boiler room is over here in this other room over here as you go around. There's a room over here. That was the boiler room and maybe the furnace room at one time. I think it was basically a boiler room. I think to start out with, when they had just the building here, I think the furnace was out here.
Yeah.
Because, and it could have been over here because there's a flue right over here. This here is a flue going up because here's the
Okay.
pipe right here.
Right, yeah.
So I think they must have had heat over here somehow back in those days. Because I was born in '46, so I really didn't start coming out here till, well, I can remember about 55 or so.
And H.A. was your grandfather?
He was my grandfather, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
your dad?
I would say the boiler system was probably put in, let's say in the late 40s, somewhere around there, everything, put the original boiler system in. Somewhere around
And then your dad worked here?
there. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then-
my dad ran the garage.
That's it, okay.
Yeah, he was in charge. Those 4 brothers. Harry had the body shop, and my dad had the garage. Teddy, he was the blacksmith, and then Clarence, he ran the implement store. We had an implement store, and it was downtown. And then we moved it in 1957 out, which is the building where Mark's body shop is. That was ours.
I remember your dad. He went by Pat, didn't he?
Yeah, he went by Pat. Yeah, he did. He did.
The Skivvy boys had a little car with a printed stretch.
Yeah, that was my car.
Oh, that was yours.
They got that for me for Christmas one year.
Oh.
And I wore that thing out and Dad rebuilt it a couple times. The last time he rebuilt it, and then that was about the time they came.
Okay.
Or they got, old enough take a drive and
Oh,
everything like
that's
that.
the story
And
on
so-
that, huh?
And so he rebuilt it for a pastor and gave it to him.
Ah, see, that's neat.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Because he made
It was black.
They had a 57 Chevy or Ford.
And 57 Chevy.
Yeah,
and he made it look like that.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, we thought that was the coolest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So that was yours originally.
Yeah. Well, Eric, being the only child, you know I didn't want for nothing. They were hard. They were hard on me, those two guys. Yeah. No, they didn't cut me any slack as far as, behaving, doing work.
That was the old German way.
The German way.
Yes, yes.
So, you want to take them upstairs, honey? Or?
Sure, are you want to see the other group here?
Oh, Roger. Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, but this, is that a belt drive?
That's a belt drive. Yeah. Yeah, they had a big machine here. It would drill a round hole into boards, but right at the very end, it had a square bit at the corners, so it'd make a square hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called it. I want to say they called it a mortise machine.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, they had that. It stood right there.
Nancy asked you what that really is outside the building right here. I don't remember.
I don't. That pulley has been there from the time I can remember. I think it had something to do with buggies back. See, at one time, if you come out here, at one time they had a ramp that ran up before they built this. That room was built on later, but on that building up there, that's the original. They had a ramp that went up there to that upper story from this side. If you go up there, you can see a doorway where they landed. And they worked on them up the stairs up there, put the upholstery in, seats and stuff. I'll show you when we get up there. But that was back in the buggy days. But that there was probably for hoisting up buggies or something. I never saw that in action. It's always been up there. It's something that you didn't think to have.
Was that your parents' house?
Yeah.
Don, did the ramp, was it a board ramp or a dirt ramp, or what did they have that they took stuff up to the second floor?
I would say.
Because it had to be a
I
big
don't
ramp
think
and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think it was a wood ramp, probably made out of heavy timbers.
Okay.
Because it was buggies, they didn't drive vehicles.
Yeah, so the buggies would be lighter weight.
Yeah, be lighter. Get up there, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Well, see that was a window. See that up there where it's blocked in? That was a window. Okay, let me look in here.
She has a question.
Back there?
Yeah, it belongs to the Klein family, Mary Klein,
Okay.
and Bus died maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
Is that the same Klein set? That big white house
No,
on Franklin?
no, it's gonna be.
Do you know how old? You know,
Like he died and they sold it. This is K.L.E. White. Yeah, Ewine. Yeah, Mary
Yeah, that
Jane.
is- yes.
She's a member.
Okay.
do you know how old the house is?
Wow.
Okay.
Where did Don go? He went there.
Connie can tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I've never seen this before, but my theory is, obviously they didn't have overhead garage doors here then, but you can tell where there used to be hinges there and up there, and I'm betting that this was to hook the door open.
Oh, yeah.
To keep the door hooked, and they just didn't bother when they took the door off, they didn't bother to remove the hook.
Right.
So,
So, very good.
what did you learn about the window?
Well, here, I'll show you. See this? That's the fire. See that fire door right there?
Yes,
That was an outside door.
Okay.
So, and they if you look over here on this wall, you can kind of, they redid all this brick.
See, but it looks like they filled in
But
something.
they filled in stuff here.
Yeah.
And that was, the ramp was probably in here.
Okay, all right.
I'd say it's probably in here.
I know that one of our books says that the ramp took stuff to the second floor.
To the second
and
floor.
that they had picked up rows.
Yeah.
There's a train station, not a station, that's too grandiose a word. There was a train stop at Franklin Road and where the railroad crossing is. It's north of Edgewood but south of Thompson.
Right across the street from the
And
library.
right across the street from the library.
Okay.
Grace Church is now on that side.
Okay.
But at one point in time, there was a train stop there, and the people that owned Waterman's would go down there with their wagons and collect parts from that train, and then bring them back here and haul them up the ramp to the second floor. I think the only other thing that was ever there was a coal yard is what I was told. And Lee Compton said as a boy, and he would have been well over 100 by now probably, but he said as a boy they used to send him down during the Depression and get a bushel basket of coal and come back with it. So. All right, well, where are you taking this herd next?
We can go upstairs, I think. You ready to go upstairs, honey? Oh, we don't go here, that's right.
I like those doors underneath too. Yeah. And I can see the window. And this goes the outside.
Those are old doors there. Now, one thing about this building here, back when they built this, if you look at all the wood structure up here, it's all freestanding. There's no posts holding up that roof. It's all trusses. And this was one of the first truss buildings around when they did this. And they took boards and bolted them together to make the beams. It's something that was a feat back in its day when they did this. And they're still standing yet today. But this was your first free truss building, I'd say.
That would have been quite impressive to see at the era, because nobody else would have had anything that was that wide a span.
Yeah, it was.
And what year would that have been?
This was built probably, my dad was 89 when he died. He was born in 96. So this was built probably around 25, 20, somewhere around there, because he worked on Model Ts. He worked on Model A's. Yeah. So, does that sound about right, Nancy?
I'm going to assume that you know more than I do. You know, when I was outside, I was looking. You can see where the original windows had the arched tops.
Yeah.
And they've been replaced by modern windows.
Yeah.
I was outside. It looks like there's bolts, kind of like a turnbuckle bolt, going through the brick between those windows to hold. So they must just be solid brick walls.
Yeah. They're I think most of it's all 3-course brick thick.
Yeah, that would make sense, because I think you can see the end of a bolt coming through there, but if you go outside in that driveway, I parked today and I could see here's a row of bolts and a row of bolts.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's holding your wall.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
look how big that window used to be. The width with the arch over
Oh,
it.
yeah, that was, You know, all these windows, you can tell we've reduced them down in size, and then we filled up a couple windows down there. That was done back in about 66, 67 when they did that, because I went to service. That was while I was this here was just our parts room in here for the garage. Back when we had the garage. These two rooms, parts rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But in the garage out there, I failed to mention it, but the back part of the garage, that was the paint booth where they painted cars after they got through working on them, body work. They painted back there. You remember Elbrox that went to our church?
I remember the name.
Elbrox?
Yeah.
Francis Elbrox. Art Elbrox was their son, John Elbrox. His dad, Red, well, they called him Red.
Okay.
He worked for us. And his father-in-law, Francis, had worked for us for a long time.
You remember his name?
Alfred Estel was his name. They called him Pulley. It was a type of grease they used back in those days. But I don't know if he was always greasy or what, but his nickname was Pulley. Alfred Estel was his name. Let's see.
He's right there.
Oh, I've been here since I came out here doing grade school and took parts away from my dad. And I was here, the only time I wasn't here was 2 years. I went to 66 and 68.
So you spent most of your life
I
here?
spent my life here.
Hey, Don, you've got this old fire door, has job rotations and pencil rotations.
That was her notebook. That was her notebook.
That's phone numbers before they were all digits.
Yeah. If Edgar and Harry and them, if they didn't have something to write on, they'd come up and write on the wall or write on.
Does it still roll?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can I pull on it?
Yeah. Hold on.
The original barn door.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's got a hitch. He took a pattern and drew it. There's a hitch there. That's a hitch plate.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess if you don't have a notebook, you might as well. I wonder whose phone number Washington 32412 was.
12, yeah. There's a measurement for something he made up. 6 foot 10 inches.
Let's see if I
Yeah.
can get a picture.
Uh, and my dad was good at that. He'd write phone numbers down there on the wall in there, and I even would do it. It's not good.
Yes.
Yeah,
And actually, 2 houses next to that were moved from.
If I was interested in these chairs,
Now that was a ready mix number right there. That was a concrete company. Ready mix concrete. See,
if I was interested in these chairs, that's the new.
Okay, are we ready to go up there?
But you guys are leading. Whatever you
Lead the way.
Whatever you want to say.
Okay, I'll let her lead the way. I'll follow.
These stairs are steep.
And it's a little warm up here. And there's a leak, so there's a bucket of water right there. And it is full. There's the frontage that I was I forgot downstairs. The old doorway. See how it's arched?
Oh, okay.
All of this stuff up here is the new owner stuff.
Okay.
We used to have was it an appliance store, one of Don's cousins? What, you remember the year that the appliance store?
The appliance store was in around 48 to 53. They sold appliances. So you worked on TVs. I'm sorry, let me back this up. Kenny down in the hardware sold appliances, and then Bob Reno married the blacksmith's daughter, and Burnett. And anyway, he liked to work on TVs. That was his profession, working on TVs and radios. So they brought him up here, and he had his TV shop, the repair shop, radio repair up here. And that was down that end down there. And then they had hardware here too. Kenny had hardware up here. He had hardware in the cellar room up there too. That was all full of hardware.
Well, storage, not for customers, but
It was for customers.
oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to come upstairs, yeah. It was for customers.
Because I started up.
Time
This
you
is where I
started was all
started.
storage by the time.
Right. Yeah.
But they had hardware up here.
We started selling statuary, and so somebody asked me if I could. They wanted something painted, so Don said, "Oh, my wife will do that." So, that's where I was up here painting until it got so heavy, more and more of the real heavy stuff. They would take a high lift tractor, bring it in. I'll show you. There's a big overhead door up there. It's a double door, so they hoist it up, and then he would carry it over in this room, and I'd paint it, and they would take it out. That's it.
Kenny, he would repair windows up here. That's what this table is. This was a glass cutting table here. You can tell he's cut many a glass because he had it all cut down. So that was his glass cutting table. And all these little bins is where he kept panes of glass, different sizes. They were all marked 10 by 18, 10 by 16. But he kept all different lengths in there.
Was that an original building front where you can see the window is when bricked in?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That was,
So this was, I think Connie said this was a porch originally, this part where we're standing?
it was a porch, yeah. Yeah, it was a porch. Yeah. So, yeah, so I guess the building came this way because, like you say, that's a window. That's an awful big window.
Maybe it was a door.
That could even be
I
a
think
door.
I think your wife said it was a door.
I think that's a doorway.
Yeah, I had forgotten that we're on the second floor, yeah.
Yeah,
that
we're
we
on
have
the
to go
second
over the-
floor,
Yeah,
and that could be the doorway.
yeah.
This building is just, the way it's gotten laid out, it's hard to figure out. But this is the fire door again. But, that would be an outside door. This, before I finish that, there was a window there. You can see where that was a window at one time. There. So that was an outside wall. You can tell that. This here was a place too that he kept all of his hand tools up here in racks, shovels, rakes, you name it, picks, pitchforks. He had racks up here, and he had this all full of hand tools back then. And I think there was other stuff up here too, because he had those shelves over there and over here. But by the time I came along, it was more or less it was storage by then. So, and then now we go into the old part. This is where I don't know, like we don't have electricity over here. We shut everything down because this is old. You can see all the old wood timbers in the ceiling up here and everything. This is where, watch the floor.
Yeah, watch yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch the floor.
So this is where they would bring carriages and
They would bring
buggies up
him
here?
over here, and yeah, right in here, I would say, because the upholstery shop was over here in this other room. That's where they did all the sewing of seats and stuff. But now they had, they also sold implements back then, farm implements, horse-drawn stuff. And those were parts bins over to your left down there. And they had all the implement parts in there yet. So,
It's like being.
but this has kind of just been a catch-all now over the years.
So as,
Everybody wants this countertop. And that counter runs from one end clear down to this other end. We can't get it out of here.
Is it solid board or
Solid board, yeah, yeah.
So as time progressed, they met their needs. I mean,
Yeah.
they added on and
Oh, yeah, they-
created whatever
You're
it
right.
was needed.
What was needed?
And for that
To
time,
keep
for
it
that
flow,
era,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah,
very diversified.
yeah.
Yep, you go right ahead, just be careful.
See, they even,
Hey, Dad,
yeah,
the lady down the watch, there's a hole there.
Yeah.
Can you tell them about that? On the
Yeah.
floor? There is a
I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
yeah. what-
I was here before, so I know where
Yeah, I
the
knew
weak
you
spots
did,
are.
but I thought, you know, or I knew you were, yeah.
But we even had, they're back here in the corner, when you come around, there's a big tank back here, and they had linseed oil in it.
yeah, you said that,
And,
they had a silver
tur-
and sewing machine.
linseed oil, and I don't know if it's turpentine in there, or what, there's two compartments back there, and it's still got some stuff in it.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, we couldn't.
Careful,
cover
that
it.
this floor is unsafe.
This,
so.
this is good here. Let me see if I can pick up some of this stuff. There,
Thank you.
that's good there.
Yes, I don't know, I think I'm staying here.
This here is a sliding door. This was a little walk-through door right here. And, this was a slider. If you undid it, this door would slide across and open up. It would open up this opening right here. And they would bring the buggies in there. So. But this was the sewing room in here.
And all these round things are
Halves of wagon wheels.
halves of them.
Yeah, so you take two of those to make a full wheel, and then they can put the spokes in with the hub and everything.
How have you avoided making this a historical event? I mean, it seems to me that people would wanna come and see all of this history.
I never pursued that end of it, to be honest with you. I don't know. Now, that is actually true up there on the wall, the weather.
Yeah, I
forecast.
saw that in the online
Online,
from the
yeah.
first tour,
That is actually true.
1913.
That has been up there from day one.
Who do you think wrote it? Any idea?
I have no idea who wrote that then. Yeah, that's a suicide door from a 1940 Dodge car. I looked it up. And it's on the driver's side, suicide door. But when it got hit, it didn't break the glass. And I got a hunch it may have been somebody in the family, because Harry and them all drove Chrysler products.
So was that right?
And it was a Dodge. He did have a Plymouth. He had a Plymouth too.
I remember riding with Steve in his dad's old car, but it was from the 40s, and that
Yeah.
was like
And I think he had.
in the 60s.
Dodge, maybe?
Yeah, Dodge or Plymouth.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just remember it was old.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
And rainstorm raged, driving a big something big something like,
During a big,
it says, from Good Friday into March 25th, a bad wind and rainstorm raged, driving a big something.
Yeah.
Dam, or is it, I can't, is it D-A-U?
A big something, and then it said it was the most that Indianapolis had ever experienced.
Yeah.
During a
Wow.
big, I can't make out.
I don't know what that word is, but
Unless it's damage, but
Damage?
but
driving a big damage.
doing a big damage, or maybe it's doing a big
I'll bet
damage
that's
or
what it
something,
is.
but
Doing a
anyway,
big
yeah, or
damage the
something.
most Indianapolis had ever experienced.
Yeah.
Wow.
So these are forms here, are they forms for wagon wheels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
From
You
June
put it
9th.
together to make your full
Mhm.
circle, and
Mhm.
there's
Wow.
your spokes and your hub in the center.
Are these bus seats over here?
That's bus seats, yeah.
Make
Now
the
that was back
salvage.
when they called them school hacks back in
School hack.
before they were called bus seats, they were called school hacks.
That's got the,
And that's
the
what-
leather on there.
It's got the
whatever it is.
leather on there, yeah, for the backing of the seat. They weren't very comfortable seats.
I bet. I bet they weren't.
And you remember those seats there, don't you, Eric, out in the
These
old
chairs,
gym?
I thought, oh yeah, they were too wide
Yeah.
and they
too
folded
wide.
up. Yeah. I
yeah.
thought that was
Somehow
familiar.
those made it here. I can't tell you how.
Where were
Wow.
these from?
From St. John's Lutheran
St. John's
School.
Lutheran.
Oh my gosh, I went to
Yeah.
school there.
Gym.
Well, I did
But
too.
that would be the school that's no
But
longer
these,
there.
these
Yeah,
were in the
that-
old
that
building,
school's
they were
gone.
upstairs in the
Yeah.
gym.
Ah,
And that school's gone already. It's not, that building's not there.
yeah.
But,
That's true.
so the new owner owns all this stuff? Or
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, new owner owns it now.
I think they wanna get an architectural, or salvage group in here to come do a gleaning.
They may,
There's a place down in Evansville that would buy all that.
all that.
There's a place in,
Oh, yeah,
there's a
yeah.
place in
Oh,
Franklin
they would
that does
sell it-
salvage
They
too.
would sell it for art things on the walls and, yeah, they would
Huh.
sell it, yeah.
Madison
That
Street,
would all
Madison
be-
Street Salvage in Franklin does, you
That
know,
would-
they do all that for charity
Yeah.
too, so.
That would all amazingly have value. Yeah.
I mean, I drive down and buy stuff there, so I know other people do too.
Huh.
I just like
Madison
I
Street.
just like to
Madison
go-
Street Salvage, yeah, it's a
It's
nonprofit.
just fun to go look.
Oh,
Even if
yeah,
you don't
it is.
buy, you just see
Yeah,
things
just
that
do
are
it, yeah.
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was amazing what we found up in the rafters.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you
Well,
if
yeah,
you
there's
looked
still some
at
old
what,
windows.
Laying up.
what people
Now,
laid up.
those are the original windows of the building. If you look back at old pictures
Mhm.
from back years and years ago, those are the original windows up there, laying up there. The old window frames.
Yeah, the company in Evansville would sell those window frames. People will buy those and make art projects out
Now
of them and all
that
sorts
seat
of
right
stuff.
there,
Yeah.
People use them for little
That's from the
outbuildings
school
too.
hack. Back when they made the school hacks,
I like
it was
those
just like a
little
long
switches.
bed,
Mhm.
Aren't those
enclosed bed, and they would
Mhm.
put the seats lengthwise with the bed, so the kids would sit, opposite each other,
Mm-hmm.
facing each other. And they just had two seats, that long seat on that side and one on the other side,
Mhm.
and that was it. And that's still one of the seats left over there.
Yeah, are we talking about like a horse-drawn thing?
It was motorized. Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna make my way.
Well, and you know what, Eric? Probably it was horse-drawn too.
At some point.
Before they came motorized,
Yeah.
yeah, they had horse-drawn like that.
We have photos in our collection of the horse-drawn
Yeah,
hacks,
yeah.
yeah, for the kids.
Yeah. Mhm. There's still an old door there that's been up here forever. I don't know where it come from. But it's,
Some things you have to let go.
I mean, this is so massive. How many square feet is this building? Don, how many square feet is this whole building?
I can't really tell you. It's probably close to maybe over around in the high 20s. Does that sound right?
20,000?
20,000.
Oh, it's probably
Close
bigger
to
than that. I'll
30.
bet it's bigger than that.
Close
Yeah,
to-
I was
yeah.
gonna say probably closer.
I know the insurance companies, they have a
Yeah.
terrible time trying to figure out the square footage because of all the angles the way.
Sure. No, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
they just need to measure it on the outside.
Yeah,
Call it.
exactly.
Call it.
And-
Yeah,
and
call it,
Say
yeah.
there's 2 floors and we'll double it.
Yeah.
Take away 10% or something.
Right.
This is the door that they bring.
Yeah.
They had a platform here, and they would show the lawnmowers from the, we had 2 systems. Actually, we had 4 at one time, and then they sold that and put the other one, not this next building, but the one next to that. But this, I love this view.
Oh, wow.
We talked once about making this look
So that was Henry's first place.
Yep. Well, no, that was Don's dad's one.
Oh, okay.
It was born in
It went up there, and so who was born here? Which one?
Don's father.
And who's that?
Edwin.
Edwin.
Edwin, yeah.
And that's where the blacksmith shop was originally.
On the corner,
Yeah.
right there, yeah. When this was like the road.
Where does the water come from? Just off the road?
Yeah, because the road is built out.
But there's no, I mean,
Yeah, you wouldn't think.
no, I mean, there's no pond out here. I mean,
Well,
there's-
it comes in
where's the
from
water
that
come from?
end,
Yeah?
right, and it's interesting because during
Yeah.
the state or the county fair, or even when they're moving manure and stuff, it fills up in here because it rolls down from that direction, it comes this direction.
Just the way you're situated. With the
So
road, yeah.
Franklin Township has such a high water table that can't take in. Because my house flooded yesterday. I had 8 inches of water in my house, and there's nothing there, but it just flooded that deep.
That's a lot of water.
Oh yeah, it ruined a bunch of stuff.
Yes, exactly. I know.
I still have puddles.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Busy.
And that house, the yard used to go way out, but when they put the highway in, they moved southeastern closer to the building.
Oh, okay. So they would have more yardage
So
when
we
they had,
had quite a bit.
when they had the blacksmith.
So Connie, were you guys responsible for the concrete stuff you used to sell downstairs? That was your thing?
That was my thing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what got me over. Actually, I came up because Don's cousin and I, she did an antique house out and used both of these, especially that one. And we had all these ideas to work with, and then Kenny died, who ran the park there. So she had to be down there, and I had to go down there eventually too. So that's kind of what happened to the antique store. And so we decided to sell statuary to bring in money to help, with what we were doing. So that was how that ended up happening.
We took our kids.
Statuary.
Oh,
You wanna
okay,
show
you
them?
just pull it
Just
up,
there.
yeah.
You want to show them down there in the blacksmith shop? And part of the blacksmith shop is where we were at, where the pictures are.
Yeah.
Did they see the pictures?
I wasn't gonna go over there because the mud,
Oh,
Doug said the
okay.
mud was
Oh,
too
okay.
bad.
Okay.
I maybe open it. You want me to open the door? It's the forges, you'll be able to look in and see.
Yeah, peek in the door.
Yeah, sure. Well,
I
that's
see
just.
a couple of Doug's cars down there.
Yeah. Pretty bad down there. Here's where Lincoln was. Guess I should have told you. Because you've been here done that.
I've been here. I'm making the video for the
right.
yeah.
I love it.
So did you deliver the
I think we're gonna go down there. This is where we're not gonna go down there. That's kind of, that is muddy and yucky. That's what Doug meant, I think, 'cause this isn't bad.
Yeah.
No, this isn't bad.
That's where 1 and 4 capsize. And this one you can see much easier because a lot of them still don't.
That's what's left of one of the forges. They had 3 of them in here, but
Oh, I
that's,
thought it was 2.
no, there was 3. There was 3.
2 doubles.
They had this one and this one, and then there was another one on the other side. But it was never an operation by the time we came along. By the time we came along, it was pretty much like they just ran these.
Oh, yes, how history. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Then they had the big trip hammer. Trip hammer here. In fact, that's the motor that for one of the trip hammers. And then they had a big, remember the big trip hammer sat over there?
No, I never was in here.
Oh, you never seen it? Okay. Yeah.
So that original door was right there.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Well, I wanted to take somebody in a horse-drawn wagon to the downtown.
Yeah, right. Up
Oh.
here. Yes.
Okay.
Mom said my grandfather used to, me and the great-grandfather used to take strawberries and whatever they grew,
Downtown.
take them downtown to the market. They'd have to leave early.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good, what, hour's ride down there probably, so 3/4 of an hour. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like 9, 7, 9 miles out here. Which was long back then.
Somebody needs to get this car fixed up.
That's Doug, yeah, he's got this and this, those are both his projects.
All the grandchildren know about this.
Yes, I bet.
After a while, he catches up with you.
Yeah.